Hello, everyone in podcast listening land. I'm Karen Devaney.
And I'm Ann Varner.
And we're sisters.
Welcome to Sugar-Coated Murder, where we'll discuss
and probably inappropriately laugh about and comment on.
Yep, one of our favorite subjects.
Murder. Oh, and we love to bake. And why not combine our two favorite subjects?
Baking
and killers. I'm good. We're back in my kitchen.
Yes, we are.
Social distancing.
Distancing.
And we have a guest with us today.
We do, a sit-in.
And we've got a sit-upon. Yes, and it's my daughter, and her name is Sarah, but you might hear me say Peanut by mistake because that's what I call her. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I am so excited to be joining and seeing the behind the scenes and be a part of this really cool podcast.
She paid for a behind-the-scenes tour, and that's what she's getting.
No discount, though.
And, well, you get what you pay for. Just remember that.
All right, so I'm in your kitchen. So I don't frequent your kitchen for cooking. So
Me neither.
So I might bumble around a bit, but I decided today that we would go ahead and make ourselves some brownies, and I got the recipe off the back of the cocoa containers.
I love that.
So
yeah,
it's like
the real brownie.
Yeah. So and it's really easy. It's just sugar, butter, eggs, vanilla, flour. I use the Nestle Toll House baking cocoa.
Okay.
I suppose you could use Hershey's if you wanted to. Baking powder, a little bit of salt, and if you want, you can add nuts. I don't prefer a nut in my brownie.
I don't like a nut in my brownie. There's just nuts have a place, and they're just places that you shouldn't get a nut. And I think it's a brownie. I'm not a nut person in a brownie.
Well, you are a nut.
Oh, well, that's been established long before today.
Indeed.
And also, I wanted to point out that some of the background noises are because I have my porch door open. So occasionally we'll hear a motorcycle go by or a truck backing up. And we also have another dog with us today. So Leroy Brown's having a play date today with Miss Sully. So we could possibly hear from her by the end of all this. Indeed. I don't know. So while you are baking up some brownies, I am going to dish out a murder.
All right. I'm excited. Let's hear it.
Okay. This murder is about Sarah Dixon. It happens in Alamance County, North Carolina. And specifically, the town, I think, was called Graham, North Carolina. It's somewhere near Burlington, I think.
Okay, all right.
I think. It's back in 2007 in November.
All right.
So,
2007. Okay, got
it. It's not 2027. I'm not talking about something that's going to happen in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know, because, these are really crazy times with the virus and everything, and it could be time travel that you've discovered, and I just don't know.
Well, I think I have discovered it, but I'm not willing to talk about it yet.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's hear it. Murder.
Right. Sarah Dixon. She is 68 years old. She's very sweet. She's beloved by her neighbors and her kin. She is married to a man named Cardwell Dixon.
All right.
They've been married about 20 years, and Cardwell had a stroke in 2004.
Oh,
and
hard.
Now it had gotten to the point that he needed 24-hour care. So she was having to put him in an around-the-clock facility.
Mm-hmm.
And it was getting kind of expensive. We know those things can be expensive. And it was starting to drain their finances a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So she actually had a third-party curator that was helping her sell off some assets that would help go towards his care.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, you got to make some hard choices. I get it.
Take care of your people.
So Cardwell had two biological sons, and one was Dennis, and the other one was Alan.
All right.
And, of course, they were from a previous marriage. So Dennis and Sarah were having some disagreements over the care of Cardwell.
Oh no.
Right. Because she had been selling off some assets to try to help pay for his care. Dennis and his brother stood to inherit all of their dad's property and assets. So coming into the marriage upon his death, he had bequeathed to his two sons all of his stuff, which happens. Usually you set up, your second wife with some funding to get her through life, but then, what you've acquired before the marriage normally goes to your offspring of the previous marriage.
Right.
So that's what happened, and Dennis was having a little bit of heartburn because Sarah was having to sell off some of Cardwell's assets.
To take care of his dad.
I'm just saying he was not happy that this money was going to care for his father.
Well, Dennis is on my list.
Yeah, he's on my list. And so he felt like that Sarah was misusing her ability to be able to sell off stuff, but her lifestyle had not changed.
Right.
It's not like she had gone out and bought a car and then thrown some money to his care. Like, it really was going towards his care.
Okay. So she was on the up and up.
She was on the up and up. Dennis knew his dad was in pretty bad shape and would probably never recover from this. And so his frustration was, why does he have to be in this Cadillac facility if we know he's never going to recover?
Oh, well, we need to just sign him right out.
He's a real sweetheart, that one.
Yeah.
So November 28th, 2007, Sarah is home alone, of course, and she retires to bed for the evening, and she never wakes up. After a couple of days, her neighbors haven't seen a whole lot of activity around her house, which is she's usually in and out, back and forth to see her husband at the facility, and they don't see any signs of any activity, so they call the sheriff's department and ask for a welfare check.
Right.
So they show up, and they find Sarah in her bed, blanket over her, just like she's sleeping, except she's got a massive hole in her head from a gunshot.
Oh, dang. That's so,
yes.
That's
it's
so
sad
bad.
because, she never knew it was coming. She's facing the wall. She is, covered up, and her slippers are right next to the bed, right where she stepped out of them. Her house was immaculate. They said they could even see all of the vacuum cleaner marks in every room where she ran the vacuum. It was immaculate. So she's, goes to bed and retires for the evening, and then kaboom, somebody sneaks in and shoots her in the head, and she never knows it.
Oh my God.
That's literally she woke up dead. So the question is, who done it?
Well,
I know. Who could have done it? Who could it be?
Who on earth could have done that to poor Sarah?
I know. Well, Dennis said...
Well,
I don't think it was. Dennis said it was not him.
Of course. No.
So he admits to having...
I didn't for 1 minute think or suspect it.
I mean, Dennis, you don't even have to say that, because we all know it cannot be
You're
you.
Good.
Yeah. So he admits to having some angry exchanges with his stepmother, and he even admits to writing her some accusatory emails, but he was able to provide a verifiable alibi, and they could find no ties to the crime scene.
Right.
So now the question stands, who done it? So it turns out Dennis did not hold back when he talked about how he was frustrated with his stepmother. He called that he would gladly pay $5,000 for someone to smoke her ass.
Oh no, Dennis. Not the sharpest tool in the shed.
That's horrible.
It's horrible just to say that out loud.
Yeah.
But to say it out loud and you don't care who hears you, and to multiple people. Hello,
Wow.
you're an evil asshole.
What a dirtbag.
Yes. So naturally, he and a couple of his buddies were working on one of his cars one day. He got their attention because he kept talking about how she was such an evil person and that he didn't understand why she was going through and she was selling off his inheritance to take care of his dad, and his dad didn't need that kind of treatment. And, and somebody said, well, how is she holding up? And he was like, I just wish she was dead. I wish somebody would just smoke her ass.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this actually got the attention of his friends that he was working on the car with. And one of those friends was named Thomas Clay Friday.
Oh, Tommy Friday.
Tommy Friday. Yeah. And so according to their other buddy that was there, Friday was really listening with a lot of intensity and kept saying, I could buy a lot of things with $5,000.
Oh, no.
So then he started listing all the things he thought he could buy. Like if he had $5,000, he'd go out and buy a jet ski, and he'd buy this, and he'd buy that.
Can you buy a this and a that and a jet ski with $5,000?
You can't get too much.
First of all, I'm saying we're not we're not dealing with the creme de la creme of society here. Okay? I'm just going to tell you that some people just don't have good math skills.
Right.
And they see more than 1 0 behind a number and they think, that's it, I got it all.
Right.
They don't know. So the other guy just was like, I just kept my mouth shut. But then when little Sarah, that very night, was murdered.
Oh, no.
They acted quick. They didn't
Didn't waste
sleep
any
on
time. Yeah. It kind of caught his attention too. And he was like, ruh-roh. So when they go to Dennis and talk about Dennis's alibi and what did you do that day, he talks about how he worked on his car with his 2 friends.
Right.
Well, what are those friends' names? Well, it's this guy and that guy. So they go talk to
Saturday and Sunday.
And Friday and Wednesday. So they go and talk to the other buddy, not the Friday buddy. And he says, yep, I worked on the car with them. And, there was some discussion between them. And I will tell you that Friday was talking about some things that he thought he could buy with $5,000. I didn't take them seriously. And I just was like, okay. So they start looking into Friday's background and they find that he is a convicted felon. And he has prior arrests for robbery, breaking and entering, and some assaults.
Huh.
And this guy, this third friend, also had said that he knew that Friday owned a gun and that it was a 9mm pistol and that he kept it in a white box in his house. That's all he knew.
All right.
That's still a leap, though. For him to only have, like, some robberies, even the assault part, for him to go from that to murder for money, you really turn the level up quick on that.
Well, I feel like that this is, if you look at it, it's definitely, you can see an evolutionary pattern though, because, we do some robberies, we do some breaking and entering, we do some assaults. So if you do 1 + 2 + 3, you're going to get some murder for hire. That's what it looks like to me. That's my math.
Yeah.
Seems like a big leap. It does. It's like, okay, I'm doing all this stuff, and now I'm
spent time in prison, so you get, evidently some people get some ideas up in prison. I don't know. And it's not about rehabilitation all the time. Sometimes you start kind of comparing stories.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wait, how'd you pull that one off? So.
Nobody will ever respect me. It's not like I have a dirty record.
No, exactly. Yeah. And I'll just keep this illegal 9mm with me just in case, even though I'm a convicted felon and I'm not supposed to have it.
Right.
As long as it's in a white box, nobody will ever know.
Lots of clear thinking.
Yes. So, investigators take Friday's phone from him, and they said, we're going to go through and look at some of your phone records. And what they found is there were calls between Dennis, the stepson, and Friday, 13 times between the time that they left from working on the cars together to right up to the murder. 13 times.
I'm sure they were making plans. They were just making plans for the night.
Nope. They were making plans, but not for cars. So they also look at some more calls over the next few days, and they're able to line those up with, because they're also doing some digging on the other side on Dennis. And they notice that every time there's a phone call between them in the days after the murder, right after that, there's also a bank withdrawal from Dennis.
Oh, no.
And then right after the bank withdrawal, Friday's phone pings off a tower right next to the bank where the withdrawal has been made by Dennis.
Oh, no.
Again, not the sharpest crayons in the box.
No.
As a matter of fact, I think these crayons fell right out of the box.
I
don't think they're in the box at all.
No.
So, arrest warrants are issued for Dennis Dixon and this Tommy Friday. And immediately Dennis Dixon lawyers up. Friday, you don't have that kind of cash.
He's got $5,000.
He wants a jet ski. Not once did he say, I think I can buy an attorney with that. No, he didn't. He said, I want a damn jet ski. And he probably was shopping for it as they were arresting him. So he sings like a canary.
Oh, yeah.
He tells the police that Dennis offered him $10,000 to kill his stepmother, and he wanted it done immediately.
$10,000.
So he upped it. I mean, think about that.
Wow.
You're like, I can get 2 jet skis.
Wow.
Yeah. So Friday then goes out and hires a son of a former girlfriend, and get this, he said, I'm going to pay you $2,000.
Oh. Look
Dirty
at
deeds done dirt cheap. That's what I'm saying, because he's got 10 and making it seem like I'm going to pay you 2, and that guy probably thought that was half.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
no,
right.
it doesn't pay off for them. We all know that jailhouse phones are bugged.
Yes.
Friday didn't get that memo.
Right,
I
right.
didn't know either.
Oh, well, you do. So if you're ever in jail,
You should know.
don't have any kind of conversations that you don't want printed in the newspaper.
Right, got
They
it.
take away
Okay.
all your privacy when
You
you go
don't
to
get
jail.
I
All
really
of
don't.
it.
You have to pee in front of people, dress in front of people, and you talk on the phone and they listen.
And they read your
college.
letters.
They read your letters.
Oh,
Yeah. So don't even write it in a letter. Okay?
got it.
Okay. So Friday doesn't get the memo. So he calls up another buddy of his. I mean, he's a very popular man. He's got a few friends,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
You got to be impressed with that. And he says to the guy, "Listen, I need for you to break into my house and find a white box and just get rid of the box.
Just get rid of
Don't
it.
worry
Don't
about
look
what's
in the
in it.
box.
Oh, so he still had the gun.
Oh yeah,
Oh my god. Not that I'm rooting for him, of course, but it's hard to hear these dumb
Dumb,
mistakes.
yes.
Especially they had 13 phone calls that day.
At
Like,
one
what
point,
did they discuss? If they
what kind of jet ski are you going to get?
I know. They didn't talk about anything that they should have
No,
talked
there was
about.
no follow up, and that's the thing that when you don't, you got to understand when you start a project, you have to plan for the end of the
Of
project
course.
and how are you going to wrap it up. But they just kind of left it
Yeah.
open. So, yeah, not too bright little Friday. So anyway, I mean, the guy agrees, and he goes and gets the white box, and he throws it in the lake. But then the police go get him and said, "We heard your conversation with Friday. What'd you do?" And he was like, "I went and got a white box and threw it in the lake." And they were like, "Oh, really?" And he said, "I'll take you to it.
Oh.
I'll take you to it."
Well, at least he left it in the box.
Yeah.
That was
So,
nice.
2 days later, police were able to recover the weapon in the box.
All right.
Yes. So
The dude said, don't open the box. I didn't open the box.
I didn't open the box. I'm just doing what the friend told me to do. Which, that's a loyal friend.
Very loyal. Because
And
I
good
know
for
if
him.
I called some of my friends, well, some of them, I think if I called and said, I need you to get a box and get rid of it, don't open the box, they would do it. But I know I have a lot of people that would be like, oh, hell no. And some people are like, oh, yeah, I'll go get your box and take it to the police.
Oh, no. See, I would go get your box. I would open it, but I'd be like, "Sugar, I never opened it." But I would have to see what was in
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Oh,
me
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
What's in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
box?
What's in that box? And sometimes, like in the movie Seven, you shouldn't open the
Don't
box.
That's what I
open the
was
box.
thinking.
Don't look
Yeah.
in the box.
What's in the box?
What's in that box? And then you're sorry that you know.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
this guy, I mean, he did good. He was like, "I just threw the box in the lake. I don't know what was in it. Here it was." But then also a good guy, as soon as the cops come knocking, he's like, "This is what I did, and this is where I did it."
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm a friend, but only up until a certain
Yeah.
point.
Right.
And
Loyal,
I'm
but
saying,
not that loyal.
yeah. And he didn't even get paid. Like that guy didn't even offer to pay
Yeah.
him to go get the box.
Right.
Right. The accomplice also fesses up
Oh, right.
and says, "Yeah, he asked me to go with him, and I went with him." Leroy, what's the matter? What's the matter?
He's upset about how dumb these criminals are. I am too.
And so he's actually trying to tell Sully something, but I don't know what he's trying to say. "What's the matter, buddy? What do you want? Do you want your friend to play?"
Sully is out. She's sleeping.
She's asleep. It's
Oh, and here
nighttime.
comes our motorcycle
I
friend.
told you it would happen. It happens every day. All right, buddy, go see your handler. Go see if your caretaker can talk to you. Go snuggle.
All right. So the accomplice is now confessed.
So the accomplice has now confessed as well to say, "Yes, I went with him to commit the murder."
Right.
And when I went with him to commit the murder, I got scared. And because he wanted me to shoot the woman, I got scared and tried to run away, and he grabbed the gun and shot the woman.
Oh.
So This guy gets 20 years, just a little over 20 years. He gets sentenced 20 years.
Friday or Friday had friends?
Friday's friend, the son of an ex-girlfriend.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And let me tell you something. If I'm that girlfriend, you would be able to hear my flip-flops all the way out in the parking lot of that jail. Me going to tell him a piece of my mind for getting my son involved in your shit. And oh, by the way, what's this? You're going to get 10, but you're only paying him 2?
Yeah.
Like, what the flip? That's not even fair. No. Well, that kid probably looked at that sweet sleeping old lady and said, it ain't worth $2,000. I'm out.
Right.
So anyway, Friday, he ends up pleading guilty.
Good for him.
He pled to first-degree murder, so he got life with no parole.
Okay,
so he avoids the death penalty, which
seems to be what most people do these days.
They do, and I had this discussion earlier with you all today. After seeing some of these jailhouse documentaries,
right?
That's a hellish way to live.
Yeah.
And it really takes about 20 years off of your lifespan automatically just going into jail.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So a lot of people would prefer actually to be on death row because supposedly you get treated a little bit better, you get better meals, better medical care. It's a little bit elevated care because they want to make sure you make it to your execution.
But you're in total isolation. If you're on death row,
but you don't run the risk of some guy shanking you or
you get
trying to break you in the butt when you're trying to shower.
Very true. Very true.
Sorry, dear. Sorry, my little darling.
Very true.
Dennis goes on trial, and of course, he tries to say I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't like my stepmother, but I would never kill her. Nobody's buying this story, and he gets convicted. He gets convicted of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and burglary in the first degree.
Right. So you broke in, you planned it, and you did it.
Yeah, and he wasn't even there. But because he paid people to do it, they did it on his behalf, so you can be held responsible for that.
I thought Dennis was there.
Dennis didn't go there. He had no ties to the crime scene at all. This is Dennis.
Oh, it was Friday. Friday's the one that pulled the trigger.
Friday went on Saturday. Was Monday to shoot the lady.
Dennis is the mastermind.
He's the stepson of Sarah Dixon, who doesn't want his daddy's money to go to care for his daddy.
And now where's his money?
Yeah, and in the process of all of this, his dad passed away.
Right, and now who has the money?
I'm going to tell you who has the money in just a minute.
Okay.
So, his dad did pass away, but he never knew that his son had murdered his beloved wife.
Right.
He never had that knowledge, and so people did find some comfort in that. But, dun, 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 here's the best part of the story.
All right, let's hear it.
Sarah Dixon also had a son from a previous marriage.
Oh.
His name, James Neese.
Mm-hmm.
He brought a wrongful death suit against Dixon and his 2 accomplices in civil court.
Oh, that was smart.
He doesn't say, I want this much money, X number of money. He said, I want people to hear my story in court, and I want you to tell me what you think I deserve or my mother's estate deserves. And so it's him, and I think he's got maybe a brother or a sister, and there's a grandchild and a great-grandchild that would be part of the estate. So the jury comes back, and they give $15 million for the wrongful death of Sarah Dixon.
Nice.
They give $30 million in liable punitive damages charged to the assets and estates of all 3 of those men.
Oh, wow.
And it goes towards her estate. So he got $45 million. Now who's got the money, you motherfucker?
You're not allowed to say that.
I'm sorry, Mama, don't listen to this.
Oh, my goodness. We
I'm
promise,
saying,
Mama.
I
promise no more F word.
Sometimes you have to you gotta say the F word.
That used to be your one word that was not allowed anywhere around
and then you went to college.
Oh, it's my fault.
and made me say
you took direct offense because you were a mother. So to have your title in the word,
I understand,
really upset you.
But I'm just going to say, you didn't help.
I didn't use it.
You didn't use it for a long time, but under my breath, I used it a lot because you were not easy. Okay. And so then you went to college, and I think you started saying it a little bit.
No, I didn't.
At what point did you say it? Because you say it.
I don't know. Jury's out.
I would like to have $45 million in punitive damages. Anyway, he don't have the money.
No.
He doesn't have the money. And what's really sad is he screwed his brother out of getting his money.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what? There's no way that his brother didn't hear him say terrible things.
I don't think his
about
brother
Sarah.
even lived in that town.
Surely they spoke.
I'm sure that they
I'm not
spoke.
blaming the brother.
No.
I'm just saying he should have whacked his brother around. When
I'm
he heard
sure.
him
It didn't seem
terribly.
like this guy didn't come into play at all in this. I don't even think he went to court when this guy went to court and stuff. I think that he just tried to distance himself a lot. So, but yeah. Murder is so dumb.
Bad decisions.
It's
all
bad
the way around.
decisions, and it's dumb. The outcome is never what you think it's going to be.
It's never good.
It isn't. You just make everything worse. So, anyway, that's my murder. It happened in Graham, North Carolina, which I actually have a friend I went to high school with and grew up with who lives in Graham, North Carolina. So I'm going to have to ask her if she remembers this murder, and then she'll be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, why are you talking about this murder?
Right? I haven't seen you in 25, 30 years, but the first thing you want to know is, do I know about this murder? I'll be like, yeah, this is going to let me know if we can continue our friendship from high school or not.
Right.
So, anyway, how are the brownies doing?
So
Because they
we've
smell
got
so good.
About 6 minutes left on the brownies.
I want them now.
And I'm so excited because I placed an order with Pampered Chef.
Thank you, Mary White, for the Pampered Chef party.
And I got this really awesome brownie pan. And it makes 12 perfectly square brownies.
I love
Perfect.
that.
They're all the same size. It's just perfect.
So
I love
nobody
it.
has to argue
love
over who's getting a bigger
That's
brownie.
not
Yeah.
good for me because I am such a cheater. I always offer to go cut the
I
brownies.
know.
Right.
And
there's
I
no-
always get one of
Yeah,
those.
there's no cutting the brownies now. It's
Yeah,
you turn them
no.
all out and they're all there.
Cheaters
keep me
cheaters
honest.
exposed. That's
Yeah.
right.
Shoot.
And I like the center of the brownie. I don't like the crispy outsides.
Yeah.
So there's no real crispy outside.
And
of
that's
this
the only
brownie
thing
either.
that I'm disappointed in because that's my
You like
favorite
it.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to make yourself some old school brownies on the cake.
Because when I do that and I cut brownies for my family, nobody but me likes the edges. So I
It works
cut
out.
the edges
You
and then
like
give
the
them the
middle.
center, and then I just eat around the edge of the pan.
Oh my God, that's so
So it's
funny.
my fave. It's my fave.
So, all right, then while I'm waiting for these to finish up, why don't I talk about my murder?
Okay, that's fine. Let's take a break real quick.
Take a break.
Please
and then
hold.
We won't murder, but we'll talk.
We will not murder while we're on break. Well, I can't make any promises. Hold on.
All right, we're back. We're back.
Oh, yes, we fed Sullivan a little piece of ice, and hopefully that'll keep her happy for a while. And I don't know what Leroy Brown wants, but he's going to have to get over it.
He'll be all right. I think he'll be all right.
I think he will too.
He's
Definitely.
licking Sully's lips right now.
Oh,
So
that's
he's cooling off
nice.
too.
He's like, thanks for eating that ice for me because I don't like it, but it tastes good.
You have a quarantine puppy.
All right, tell us about your
I'm
murder.
going to tell you about this murder, but I'm going to just say a little something before I talk about the murder. Because this is a murder from our hometown. Oh, their brownies are ready. Look at us go.
So happy.
All right, so this is a hometown murder for us. We both knew and know the family very well, and we grew up with the people involved, and we're friends on Facebook with some of the people in that town, so we're just telling a story. That's all we want to say about it. We're just telling
We're not
a story.
judging.
There's no judgment. We're just telling a story. Here we go. It was a typical day at Franklin High School in February of 1990. So I graduated high school in 1987.
I graduated in 19.
So these kids are a little younger than me. They are seniors in high school.
Right, so if it's 1990, my little Sarah has just been born.
I was born.
Oh, way to go, girl. But typical day, Franklin High School, February 1990. But for one student, it would be the day of his life that would be forever changed. It's the middle of government class, and Wes Green has made a comment to Trent Whitley about paying him a fee for protection, as Whitley was rumored to be a small-town drug dealer. So Trent very loudly and in front of the other students tells Wes that he didn't need his protection on any drug deals. And this embarrassed Wes. So Wes hung out with popular kids, and Trent did not. Wes was more with the preppy crowd, eventually voted most spirited in his class. And Trent was more hunting, fishing, that type of person.
Like the outdoors guy, not necessarily the jock person, but
right.
Like
but for Wes, having someone outside of his circle of friends call him out was the ultimate insult. He just
high schoolers and their feelings.
Right. So
very sensitive.
Wes let his embarrassment fester and grow, and the embarrassment quickly turned to anger. Wes confided in his best friend, Mike Jervey, and the two hatched a plan to teach Trent and anyone else who might think to call him out whether or not they would embarrass Wes again. So on Friday, February the 23rd of 1990, Trent's hanging out his house, just typical Friday, gets home from school. He hops in his car and he heads out and he goes to his friend Mark's house. And they hang out for a while. They talk about a bunch of parties that are happening. And Trent's like, yeah, I'm going to go check out some of them. And then he decides he's going to head out. But he leaves Mark's house alone. Trent never showed up to any parties, and he never showed up at home. The next day, his car was found across the street from his house at the town park with the keys still in the ignition. Now, when you think about a park, I know we all kind of think about a park and there's probably a pond and some walking paths,
maybe some walking paths, and
right?
Playground equipment.
Right. That's not this park. This park is literally a piece of square land.
I think it might have been 1 square acre, honestly.
And it was at the end of 2 roads where one road merged into the other road. On one end of the park was a big statue of, I don't remember what.
It was a soldier. I fell off that statue when I was little and knocked myself out, got myself a concussion.
I also fell off that statue, but I don't think I knocked myself out. On the other side of the park was a big water fountain.
Yes.
And a Christmas tree.
Yes, because we used to go to the Christmas tree lighting every year, and I got my picture taken in the newspaper of me and a bunch of friends when we were little playing in that fountain.
Yes, yeah.
I was quite the newspaper star back in my very, very young days.
Right, well.
Before anybody knew what kind of personality I had.
Yes. So, and then I think maybe there were a few benches on the outside perimeter.
Like cement benches.
Right. Mm-hmm. You didn't often see a lot of people in that park.
No.
And if
I don't think you could fit that many people in that park.
And if you wanted to go to the park, you had to, if you drove, you had to parallel park. Because there was not a parking lot.
No.
This was a, ride your bike.
That's what we did.
On the ground type of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't a great.
There were bees in that park because when you were a toddler, you stepped on a yellow jacket and got stung on the bottom of your little bare foot.
I did. I really did.
And I was like, way to get all the attention.
All right. So the Whitley's house faced that park. I remember it well because they lived next door to a family that I babysat for. So. For 2.5 years, the police followed dead ends. They interviewed Trent's classmates, his friends, his teachers, and it was like he just vanished. There were all kinds of rumors that circulated saying that he had been involved in a drug deal gone wrong or that he was on the run from somebody. But for 2.5 years, nobody had anything to say.
I remember hearing a rumor that he had gone to Virginia Beach to make some big drug deal and pissed off some big drug dealer. And that nobody had ever seen him. And I think the FBI might have gotten involved at some point. They were looking for him.
There were posters all over town for missing person.
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Poor family. Not knowing. That must be the absolute worst.
Having no idea.
In purgatory, not knowing.
No closure, what do you do? So you're going to just walk in one day? Is he somewhere sick and we can't get to him?
Right.
Worst case.
It's horrible.
Right.
I agree.
And nobody in town, but some of the rumors were circulating, but nothing
panned out.
I can't remember. My brain is a little fuzzy because you'll have to excuse me. When I was in my 20s, I was drinking an awful lot.
I drank a bit.
So, the days and the weeks and the
That's
years.
That's so funny because when I was in my teens, I drank a lot.
Were a little fuzzy for me. But I think it was probably 1991. It may have been 92. I can remember my daddy called me, and he told our dad.
Oh, your dad called? I wonder if he said hi to my dad.
And he told me that Mr. Jervey, a family friend, had passed away. So the Jerveys they were always at the Christmas parties that we went to.
Absolutely.
But other than that, we didn't have a lot of dealings as a family with the Jervies, but Dad.
I think Mom and Dad, as a couple, ran in the
social
social circles, but they had all boys, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And so I don't think you and I would have. I mean, I knew them because they were our age, and I think I went to kindergarten maybe with one of them. I think the older one, Matt, was my age. So yeah.
And I can't remember what the dad's name was.
I want to say his name Packy. Packy Derby is what they called him.
Okay.
But I don't think that was his name.
I remember that the mom's name was Ann.
Yes.
And without an E. I remember.
I
Yes.
wonder how you remembered that.
I don't know how that happened. So again, my brain's kind of fuzzy on the timeline. But I know that within a year after Mr. Jervy passed, I went home to visit Dad, and he told me this completely crazy story. And this would have been in 1992. They finally had figured out what happened to Trent Whitley. So now our families, again, hung out with the Jervies, but we also were familiar with the Whitleys. And I don't know that you necessarily were around the Whitleys, but Trent had an older brother, Scott.
I knew Scott
Whitley.
my
age.
Yeah, I knew Scott Whitley.
And we had been to church camp together.
Yeah.
And then they came into the drugstore, and we knew them that way.
I mean, and we lived in a little mud puddle of a town, so we knew a lot of people. I mean, I think back then the whole population of Franklin was 8,000, and that was all of it. That was including like the Union camp, and like that was when it was in its boom.
Yeah.
Because we had like at that point, I really think we were down to 1 or 2 stoplights on Main Street.
Right. And it was just your typical small southern town. Everybody
Absolutely.
knew everybody.
Great place to raise a kid, I suppose.
It was that during those times.
Yeah.
I mean, I rode my bike everywhere.
Me too.
I don't know. It was so for something like what I'm about to tell you to happen is just crazy. So, Dad said that Mike Jervy had come home for a visit with his mom from college.
After his dad had passed.
Okay. Yep. And he told his mom when he got home, I need you to call the family attorney because there's something I need to talk about, and I need him to be here. So she got the family attorney and came over. What I remember vividly, and I don't know if this is fact. Again, they're rumors because really only Mike Jervy knows the answer. But what Dad said was because Mike's dad passed away, he was convinced that his dad knew of a crime that Mike committed. And he was embarrassed that his dad knew, and he was riddled with guilt, and he couldn't take it any longer.
Right.
He had to tell somebody what had happened. So, and thank goodness he did. So he told his mom and their attorney that on the night of February 23rd, he and his best friend, Wes Green, tricked Trent into meeting them at S.P. Morton Middle School, which was in our little city of Franklin. Kind of crazy because it was literally...
Was it S.P. Morton Middle School? Because it was an elementary school when I was there.
The article in the newspaper
said middle school. And they could have had a middle school. I didn't make it that far in that system.
No.
So you dropped out in elementary school.
I dropped out in I sure did. I dropped out in 4th grade.
It all makes sense.
So there was a little field next to it, and I can remember, I mean, it's like right in the middle of a neighborhood. It's not isolated. I mean, there are houses all around. But anyway, they told Trent that they were going to set him up with a drug dealer out of Suffolk.
Okay.
So Suffolk was 30 minutes from us, and it was
almost due east because it was on the way to Virginia Beach.
It was, and if we wanted to go halfway to Virginia Beach, we would meet people in Suffolk, or I don't know. I just remember they made tea bags there, and they made Planters peanuts there. That's what I remember.
And they had an incredible place that I think is still there called Georgia's Steakhouse.
Yes, we did
go there often.
Trent gets to the elementary school. Wes and Mike are there. The three of them chit-chat for just a few minutes, and then Wes pulls out a .357 Magnum and shoots Trent once in the temple.
Oh my gosh. I knew that there was a murder, but I
you didn't know this was...
I thought, deep down, I thought that this was... They were just going to scare him. And it went wrong. Like, I did not see this coming.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
And I had heard that they made him kneel down and executed him.
Oh my gosh. And here, before hearing that, I was really feeling some compassion. Like, I remember when I was in high school, you're in a whole different planet as far as your emotions go.
And reality, what's reality and what's important.
Like, you're just stuck in this fishbowl, and like the smallest little thing rocks your entire
and
world.
It ripples through your peer group.
Yes.
And it's so dramatic,
It
doesn't die down.
The emotions that you feel are like always at a 10 all the time. So I was feeling compassionate, like, man, that could have happened to me. Like, I was a hothead all the time.
You definitely were a hothead.
And I really didn't like people embarrassing me. And so here I was feeling compassion, like, hey, like, maybe that could have happened to me one day. Something got a little out of hand, but I never was thinking about an execution-style murder.
No, this is murder.
Right.
I don't know if you know this, but this is called sugar-coated murder.
Murder.
Oh.
So we do talk about some murder.
I thought we were on, like, sugar-coated assault.
Sugar-coated. This went a little south.
I signed up for the wrong episode.
All right, so Trent has been shot. Wes and Mike then wrap Trent's body in plastic.
Oh.
They take Trent's car and drop it off at the park, leave the keys in the ignition. That was really nice of them.
Yeah.
And then they drove the body out to Capron, to a farm that Mike's family owned.
The Jervys owned it.
So Capron is very rural, farmer, country.
Yeah.
And
beautiful, beautiful land.
And it's in Southampton County in Virginia, and it's just... Franklin was the city, I guess, and then there were
the
rural county places, towns, all surrounding.
And beautiful farm fields, just very well kept farms, and just something that you would see like in a storybook.
Right, gorgeous. So they drive the body out to the farm that the Jervy family owned, and they bury Trent in a shallow grave.
These are 17-year-old, maybe 18 at the most kids.
Right.
Can you picture yourself doing that? Like handling a dead body, like putting it in your car. Like I can't. Like at that age, my only reaction would be to run away. Like I would never. I can't see myself today seeing this through eyes.
No.
If I shot somebody in cold blood, I'd be running away.
Right.
Like I just run and run and run and run.
Right.
But I don't think I could touch that body, handle that body and the blood and see the aftermath of what happens when you shoot a person in the head.
Right.
I ain't got the stomach for that shit.
No. So the next day, Wes and Mike go back to the shallow grave, unbury Trent, get his wallet, take the money from his wallet, bury him again.
What?
Yeah.
Why did they need the money?
How much money? $20?
I don't know. It didn't say how much money it was.
He thought he was meeting a drug dealer, so he might have had maybe 100, 200. I don't know. Maybe even if it was 500, is it worth digging up that body?
Well, listen, we're not talking about two kids that come from poor families.
No, the Jervys.
I'm not so sure that the Greens
were an affluent
family. I believe that Wes's mother was a single mom raising him, and I don't know that they were affluent, but Wes certainly was.
They lived in a nice home.
Enough to live in a nice home and have a good family.
Well, do you think maybe they just took the wallet so the body wouldn't have an ID on it?
They only took the money.
They just took the
wallet with the wallet.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to give them.
Another trying to give you the benefit of the doubt.
All right, I'm done siding with that.
Right. So then they remember that they had left Trent's glasses and hat at the middle school. So then they drive back to the school, they get the hat and the glasses, and they dispose of them. And then they basically just continued on with their life.
Oh, my God.
Wes graduated high school and attended the Virginia Military Institute, where he excelled. He was even supposed to be in the color guard, starting his third year at VMI, which is a prestigious honor bestowed only to 6 out of 300 or so cadets.
Wow.
So he really, really did well there.
Wonder if he was a marksman. I'm just asking.
Perhaps.
Okay, seems like he was a natural.
Right. Mike graduated, and he went off to the University of Georgia in the fall of 1990. Then he withdrew for a year, and I'm guessing
Probably when
that
his
might
dad
have been
died.
when his dad died.
Or got real sick.
Right. And then he re-enrolled and went back in 92.
To Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and now, just remember, Franklin is small. Less than 9,000 folks were living there at the time. You have to wonder to yourself, how does something like this happen? And nobody else knows. Nobody else knows anything.
And nobody's talking.
So here comes the code of silence. At the trial, there was evidence submitted that confirmed many people close to Wes and Mike knew what happened to Trent.
Are you serious?
Friends and teachers.
Teachers knew?
But they were too scared to come forward. People knew that
I'm
Wes...
just telling you, I have chills all over my body.
People knew that Wes had stolen a gun from a local dentist when he was dating the dentist's daughter because he carried it with him everywhere he went. And he bragged about it. He even confided in fellow cadets that he had killed somebody, but he said it was in self-defense. And nobody, not one.
Now, I'm just going to say, if I'm in
person.
college and I don't know this kid from anywhere, I'm going to probably think he's just shooting off his mouth.
Yeah.
But when I'm in high school and I knew the guy that went missing, and then I knew that my classmates had murdered this guy, I don't know how I would have just kept that quiet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Shame on everyone that knew. I don't care about any code of silence. I know I didn't
No.
grow in a small town, but for adults to have known and not said anything is
Despicable.
just as despicable, in my opinion, as the actual crime itself.
I think so. I feel that way because I look at it from the side of that mom
Yeah.
who lost
That's
that
what
kid
I'm thinking.
that went for 2.5 years
Yeah.
and didn't
And
know
she's sitting here, I
where
bet
she
these
was,
people
and
were
she
at the
watched his
funeral.
and she watched his friends graduate and
Yeah.
go on with their life.
Yeah.
And
these people
she's
knew.
got this hole in her life.
Yeah.
And people around her knew. They freaking knew.
It's
They looked
disgusting.
me in the eye. They knew.
Yeah.
Like, that just drives a stake through your heart.
Seriously.
So I have
They
a hard
didn't
time
have
even
those.
remember.
But here's the thing.
Oh, they didn't have a funeral. She couldn't bury him.
They didn't even have a funeral for 2.5 years because she didn't know if her son was dead or alive.
That poor woman.
Right. So it wasn't until after Mike took investigators to the family farm and showed them where he and Wes had buried Trent that Mrs. Whitley even knew what happened to her son. He was 17 years. 17. The day after Mike confessed, Wes returned. He had been hanging out in the Outer Banks in Nags Head, and he came home after a week-long trip and was arrested. And then police went and searched his house, and lo and behold, they found the murder weapon.
Oh, my God.
Here's the part that maybe gives me a bit of a stomachache.
Oh, I'm not ready.
I had a stomachache the whole
I
time.
know. I'm sweating.
I feel like I'm right back in that town right now.
Seriously.
It's just, it really is hurting my heart.
Right.
All right, let's hear it.
So even after the confession and finding the murder weapon, the prosecutor felt that he had a weak case, so he opted for plea deals. Both Wes and Mike had been charged with capital murder, so they could have gotten the death penalty.
Absolutely.
But for whatever reason, the prosecutor felt like he didn't have enough of a case to convict them.
Well, let's just stop for a minute, and I'm going to ask you, where was this trial held?
In the county, Southampton County, Mr. Grizzard was the prosecutor. So Wes Green, who was 20 at the time of sentencing, received life in prison plus 62 years on charges of capital murder, robbery, and use of a firearm. Mike was 21 at the time of sentencing. He pled guilty to first-degree murder and a firearms violation and was given a 30-year sentence. Wes was going to be serving 25 years, and then he was going to be eligible for parole. It wasn't life without parole.
Right.
It was just life. Mike was eligible for parole after 6 years, and I won't say anything about that, only that Mike is out of prison, and currently he lives in Franklin. I do not know what Wes's status is. It's been 28 years.
You haven't been able to see if he's a prisoner in the court system.
I mean, I guess I could have really gone in for a deep dive to see, but I didn't. And none of the people that knew about the murder and didn't come forward were charged for anything because, according to the prosecutors, it's not against the law to withhold that information.
Excuse me? I thought we had a Good Samaritan law. They do on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Well, when did the Good Samaritan law come into play? Do we know?
I don't know. Why don't you look it up? Ask Google.
So anyway, I know that we have a lot of people. It's probably a sensitive subject.
And I'm sure this is going to bring a little bit of controversy.
And, we have a lot of friends that still live in that town that probably have some strong opinions about it.
I'm sure.
Well, let's hear them.
I would love to hear. I would love to hear their opinions. Call us, write us, email us. Our email is murder.sugarcoated@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you if you've got a whole nother opinion and take on this
let's hear the
situation.
You got something to say?
Yeah, we'd love to hear it. We'd love to have a discussion. I'm willing to discuss it and debate it right on this podcast because I'd like to hear.
I guess my thing that really upsets me the most is that he coming back into that community and living in that town close to the family of Trent just has to be awful.
Can you imagine
for the Whitleys?
like running into them after their 6th year?
Right.
I mean,
running into them at the grocery store, at the drugstore.
I thought running into exes in the grocery store is the worst thing
I know. Sometimes it's awkward when you run into old classmates and you don't remember their name, but you know you're supposed to know them. Like, that's awkward. But running into the guy that killed your son, or the mom of the guy that killed your son, and your son is out of jail and walking around and living his life.
I would have had to leave that town.
I'm pretty sure I'd have to leave the country.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how. I don't even know how you pick up and go on as a mom. As a mom.
And she had 3 other children.
She did, and so she had to live with those kids. But imagine those kids.
Trent was the baby.
But imagine those kids, though.
I know.
I mean,
I know. I know. I don't know. It's very.
It is
very
hard.
Conflicted about it.
It's very conflicting because we knew these families, and we certainly knew the Jervys. I knew the Jervys a lot better than I knew the Whitleys, and they were very respected. And I mean, my God, their dad was such a great guy, and their mom. I mean, they were raised to be very respectful Southern men. I mean, that's the way they were raised, and I'm sure, as the parent of a kid that made this decision, it has to be devastating. It blows a hole in your whole life. And yes, as a mom, you want to save your child. That's your instinct.
And you don't stop loving them.
You never stop loving them. Absolutely. And I also wholeheartedly believe that as teenagers especially, we make some really irrational decisions. We take action where action is not needed, or we take action that is 100 times more of the reaction is 100 times bigger than the actual incident that you're reacting to.
Right.
And we make mistakes. We all act out of whatever, passion, fear, anger.
But for us, it was like, okay, you've pissed us off. We're going to bake you brownies with X-Lax in it and leave them by your door.
Yeah.
You know, it was that type of thing. Or
never, ever, no matter how much I despised some people and how much they picked on me or I picked on them, it never crossed my mind to erase them from the face of the earth.
Right.
And that's what gets me. And I know that our God is a forgiving God, and we are supposed to be forgiving people. And so hopefully, wherever these 2 men are, that they have given their life to the Lord, and that they have asked for His forgiveness, and that they spend every day of their life making up for what they did.
Right.
And then if that's the case, I'm good.
Right.
At some point, you got to draw a line.
Right, because when it comes down to it, it's not our place to judge. That's not our role. That's not what God intended from us.
And according to the court,
but
they pay their dues.
It's real hard not to be judgy.
It's very
really
difficult,
hard.
especially when you know them and you know the way they were raised and you know the town that we came from.
Right.
It didn't match up. It just didn't match up. And then you look at the pain that mother and those siblings of this kid went through. I mean, not just
changed
the mom.
Their life forever.
It's aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents.
Right. There's a ripple effect.
Effect that goes through generations.
Absolutely.
So I have a little update on Good Samaritan.
Okay, let's hear it.
Also known as bystander law. So they each state has their own, but they all vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So they're all a little different. Some of them protect the rescuers who aided a victim, and then some of them do incriminate people that don't act like a good human being, basically. But according to what I'm reading, like I said, it varies from state to state how strict it is and like exactly who it's protecting and not protecting. But from what I'm reading, the highest punishment is a $100 fine.
Right.
So Seinfeld had it a little wrong. Sorry, Mom.
I am blown away.
So let's stress eat now.
I think these warm chocolate brownies are the answer to this
Absolutely.
whole entire episode because I'm so stressed out.
Give me one.
You got, well, first of all, I don't think you paid the extra.
Oh. The snack fee.
You didn't get the
I'm
snack
just
fee.
kidding.
You get the cafeteria.
You all can take a brownie. Take a brownie.
Don't you love the shape?
I
and
love that
size?
they're all like, we don't have to fight over which is the
It's
biggest
one big
one.
stack.
So yeah, let's see what's happening
Oh
here.
my god,
I love it.
delicious.
And the fact that it's still warm and it's just falling apart in my mouth.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, be sweet.
Yes.
Don't murder your friends.
Don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't murder your friends.
Stay
Mamas.
6 feet apart.
Mm-hmm.
Follow the quarantine rules and regulations.
That helps. That
That's
helps too.
so
Actually, I did
important.
see a statistic where our crime is so way down right now. Murders are down 25% in our country.
That's amazing. And
And I'm surprised because we're all cooped up with just like one or two people.
I saw another statistic. It wasn't a statistic. It was a report from a seismologist and seismologist.
I don't like the way they're called. Anyway,
Anyway.
I don't want them near me if they're like,
The earth is vibrating less because people are staying at home.
oh, that's so awesome.
Pollution's way down.
Yeah, look at us. Our
Yeah.
carbon footprint is down.
Absolutely.
I
So
love it.
there are some good things coming
Yes.
out, but
But just don't murder.
don't murder people.
Or we will talk about you.
and wash your damn hands. Just
Yeah,
wash
your
them. Wash
hands.
your hands.
And remember, if you kill people,
We
we're
will
going to talk about
you.
it. All right, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.